The 1994 film The Crow is considered by many a cult classic. I definitely enjoy this for what it is. It definitely does have a lot of good elements about it. And even all these years later, this one is still entertaining to watch. Based on a 1989 comic book series of the same name, this movie is about a rock musician named Eric Draven who is resurrected 1 year later after him and his girlfriend were murdered. So he is looking to seek vengeance upon the people who were responsible. Yeah, I knew about this one for so many years, but it wasn't until last year around Halloween time that I had finally saw this. Having rewatched this film for this review, it stands out as being so entertaining. The characters, the story, Eric Draven as a character himself. You definitely can relate to him because he was in love. Him and Shelly had the whole future planned together before it was stolen away from them. In fact, one of the main themes of this movie is loss, something that a lot of us have gone through, unfortunately. And considering the tragic passing of Brandon Lee, it actually makes this one feel just a little bit chilling in my opinion. At the end of the day, this film's legacy speaks for itself, with compelling characters, a good story, and just being an interesting thrill ride from beginning to end. A gothic revenge tale with a little bit of camp. Surprisingly enough, this does have some humor, and while the tragedy of the late Brandon Lee is sad, considering that he was fatally wounded by a prop gun on set, I really felt like this actor, he had a lot of great potential, just because of his performance as Eric Draven in this. There is a nice style here, and it actually works pretty well. I mean, when you see Eric Draven just tells the guys at the meeting to say he only wants top dollar. He doesn't want to kill those guys. And I actually think that's one of the best scenes in the movie, that whole shootout. Now, as far as other characters is concerned, I don't think there's any weak links here. Ernie Hudson portraying Sergeant Albrecht, definitely a great character there. He's just trying to find out who is responsible for taking out Eric, so he's quite shocked when he finds him standing around going on this vigilante justice. Another character I thought was interesting was Sarah. This child actor, she did a good job. Definitely she cared a lot about Eric and Shelly. And speaking of which, the relationship between both characters, I thought it was done pretty well. It's only shown in flashbacks, but it's a lot more interesting than it was from the recently released Crow film, which I haven't seen. There's a good reason for that, is because I heard it's pretty awful. And not just that though, but honestly, you can't just remake The Crow because it only had worked for the time when this film had came out. I'm not saying never touch The Crow property, but for them to try to make 3 more sequels, it just didn't work, which is also films I have no desire to ever watch because I hear they're pretty awful. But when you have villains in this film such as Top Dollar, Michael Wincott did a great job with that character, or even other characters such as Skank, 1010, Funhouse, and a couple others, definitely it makes them interesting because we all know they're assholes. But when we see Eric taking them down, it feels like it's a good sense because he's getting that revenge for those guys ruining his life and taking his love away from him. If you somehow haven't seen this one, then definitely check it out because it is well worth the time. I'm giving this film an 8 out of 10. Even 3 decades later, this one is still being talked about among people. Director Alex Proyas, he did such a good job with this. And while he will work on a few more films, I still think this is the best movie that he's directed in his career. The soundtrack of this is incredible as there is quite a few emo songs, which actually works well with the story in this. Nonetheless, rest in peace to Brandon Lee. His performance as Eric Draven will never be forgotten by people, especially those who are huge fans of this movie. And that is my review of The Crow. Okay, leave your comments down below in the section and let me know what you think about this movie. Alright, this is Slim Guy 172 saying Peace out.